A call to order the work session for the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It is July 10th. We have two items on the work session. The first relates to the architect agreement that we had continued. The second item will be Mr. Cockrell will be talking about a potential addition to our fire district. So we'll start with Mr. Kreider.
Richard Kreider, Facilities and Fleet. This request is to accept the proposal submitted by Michael Chambly in an amount not to exceed $12,500 to provide a feasibility study for the Monroe County Health Building, including the loading dock area, clinic remodel schemes, clinic entrances, storage space, signage, area access, code, and historical requirements.
Thank you so much. Would you like to go ahead and make a motion, Commissioner Jones?
Yes. Move approval of a feasibility study for the Monroe County Health Building by Michael Chambly. Fund name, GO Bond 2021. Fund number, I lost fund number. Oh, fund number 4814 Health Building Repair Remodel, not to exceed $12,500.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and we have a second. So obviously this work would start once we've talked through a couple options that we've just kind of thought through a moment ago. So, but clearly this has to be done, and it is part of that that GO bond. So
Yes.
And being a historic building, it's very important to proceed this way. Any comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Githens?
No, I'm anxious to see the work done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the architectural design services agreement for the Monroe County Health Building? Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0.
I was waiting for those magic words. Thank you so much. Now, thank you, Mr. Kreider. Now, Mr. Cockrell, please tell us what we've got in store for us.
Well, I have been approached by the Bean Blossom Township trustee, and they are interested in joining the Fire Protection District. And he was asking me for what their rules are in order to do that. And so I went through and I looked at the last time we expanded into Washington Township, and we have provided townships an alternative method besides that created in statute for petitioning you. I will just note for the record that you guys could just go ahead and approve this as is on your own accord, but we've historically always required that kind of input from the area. The first time we did this, the statute required mailings to all the people who would be in the district, which would include people outside the township that is being added, and that was a tremendous expense, and it was easy to see a difficulty of people getting burned out filling out that when it wasn't really changing their fire protection service. So what we provided was you still have to get the 20% or 500, whichever is, I think, more or half of whoever's in the district or in that township. So you still have to do that for the township, but for the others, we provided if 50 or more people objected to it, we would have a public hearing. And so I think that's probably the best way to move forward with this one as well. I think if anything, it's gotten worse with mailings coming in and getting ignored. I think that was a huge issue, but it still requires the township being added to go and make sure that their constituents want to be added to the fire protection district. So if that all works well, I would, and I'll work with the trustee and Dustin Dillard on scheduling, have them come in and present their plan to you, and then have a resolution that kind of outlines those steps. And so I think their goal, the trustees' goal, is to get it approved by the end of the year so that they would begin being part of that district in 2026.
Okay, so they would, so part of that is to have at least 2 different meetings with residents regarding the financial impact for them on their tax bill, right? That's part of that requirement, right?
Yes, they would have to have public meetings. They'd have to be noticed in the same way as all public hearings do for us, which is twice 1 week apart. With the second one being at least, I think, 1 week before the actual hearing.
Okay. It seems that, you know, they could use yard signs, they could use a lot of things to try to get, and I think that was done in the past as well by some of the trustees, to notify folks on the heavily traveled roadways about the meeting.
And I think the Fire Protection District has done this several times in the last 4 or 5 years. So
Yes.
I think they have a pretty firm understanding on how they need to get that word out. And in the past, I've always worked with the trustee to help with that kind of issue.
Right, great. And do you have any questions or comments, Commissioner Jones?
No, just that I think it would be a really good thing. How many townships are not in the fire district now, if you happen to know?
I think there are probably 3 or 4 that are not. I think Richland Township and then a few by the lake, but I think the few by the lake may have contracts with the Fire
They do.
Protection District.
Yeah, yeah.
So Richland kind of stands out.
Yeah, and it's because they have their agreement with Ellettsville. Yeah. That's a good question. Commissioner Githens, comments, questions?
So will we need to go through some of the, or will the township need to go through working, was it with Baker Tilly to get some of the estimates again? Who was it that in terms of their tax liabilities? Over the meetings that we held publicly with the different township units?
I do believe that the Fire Protection District uses Baker Tilly, and that would be my anticipated that's how they've done it in the past, is that the Fire Protection District utilized their financial person to come up with that information. So I would expect that would be how they would proceed with this. Typically, they tell us that when they give us their plan, and so I think that I will get that scheduled with them to come and present that to you guys.
Yeah. I think it's a really good thing for residents of Bean Blossom to consider and to look at the finances and the financial impact on their individual households as they do this. But, you know, it will make the fire district stronger, but I think it will also help residents in Bean Blossom as well. So I like the idea, but let's see where it goes. And I'm fine with the language that we've used before, the process we've used before. Any objections to that, or any other suggestions for that process?
The only thing I may add to the resolution is a template for the mailer that gets thrown out, that gets sent out to the individuals, because that's really in the past has been where there's been hiccups or headaches, is the language in that mailer was sometimes really clear, and sometimes an individual could read it and say, well, I'm interested, is different than I think it's a good idea, and I think we want to know that they think that it's a good idea, that they're not, that they're beyond an interest level. Yeah.
And I think a postcard is more likely to be read than a letter that has to be opened, and it's also cheaper to send. So I like the idea of postcard with clear language on it. So it's a good idea. Okay. Good. Great. Anything else for our work session? All right, seeing none. Thanks, everyone. Thank you to our wonderful folks at TSD, and thank you, Katz, and we are adjourned.